Hi everyone, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Aileen and here we like to talk about all things makeup, mostly luxury makeup, skincare, and fashion. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope you consider subscribing and joining the family. So today we're going to take a look at the new Tom Ford Tiger Eye, which is palette number 36. Here are the shades. I have already done a video with Rose Topaz, and I'll go ahead and link that up here as well as in the description box. So we're going to do some comparisons in eye look. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then keep on watching. But before we go, like we always say, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Let's get to it. Okay, so I do already have swatches of this palette on my Instagram, on my skin, which is medium, as well as my daughter's, which is tan. But I'm going to go ahead and swatch it, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to swatch it for you, and then we're going to do some comparisons. Because as I was doing comparisons for, and here are the swatches so far, for Rose Topaz, I was like, that might compare better to Tiger Eye. So we're gonna see. This is such a rich, beautiful brown, but it is absolutely stunning. I will say, based on the swatches on my daughter's tan skin versus my own, I feel like this is the most versatile as far as shade range for skin tones. I feel like this will complement more skin tones than the Rose Topaz or even Smoky Quartz. I feel like the dark shades of Smoky Quartz will be really great for deeper skin tones, but for these other shades, I loved it on my daughter's skin. And like I said, she's tan, and if I can, I'll pop the picture right up here. But I just feel out of the three palettes, it's the most versatile. Nothing is going to work for all skin tones, including this one. But I feel like this one will work for more skin tones than Rose Topaz or Smoky Quartz, if that makes sense. So for comparison purposes, the first one I want to compare it to is Dior's Golden Day, which is 569. And I just want to do this shade right here. Primarily, I don't feel like any of the other shades really compare. I feel like that is a very similar shade. This you can see has more peach and bronze to it than this one here. And this is the one from Golden Day Dior. Next, I want to compare it to Dior's Cruise Look, and this is 022. Primarily these shades over here. These three, the center and these two, and see if those compare. So this is the top shade. This definitely leans more pink than any of these. It's more, and it's cooler. This is the bottom shade. I feel like this bottom shade does compare to the top shade. Just a tad. Actually a lot more. There is a little bit of pink in here, and you can see that when I move it, like a pinky peach. You see that right there, where this is just one shade. It doesn't really have a shift. And for the middle shade, this is definitely deeper than this shade. It does not compare. Next, I want to compare a few shades from Mitza. And again, this is a Dior Quint, and this is 689. And I'm going to compare these two shades here. Maybe this one, we'll see. So here's that shade there, and this does go more bronze copper, where this leans more goldish peach. And here's another shade from Mitza. This is more of a topper, where this definitely has more pigment. And sorry, I had my arm leaning on the desk there. And then the bottom shade which is this one here. And it's lighter than this dark matte, but darker than this shade here. And next, I want to compare it to Nude Dress, which is Dior's 649. And I'm going to compare these two shades. And you see that there, that matches this other Dior, just darker, but not any of the four from the quad. And this shade, it definitely does not match the quad either. Next, I wanted to compare these two shades. So this top shade and this one here. And this is from the Chantecaille Hummingbird. And this is the Warm palette. This is the top shade. So this just has like that peachy pink, where this is definitely more of a goldy peach. And next is like their Shifty shade in that palette, which has like a pinky gold. And even that doesn't quite match this golden peach. And next, I want to compare it to the Butterfly Quartet. And this was from spring last year. So I want to see about these three shades here. So this is more of a mushroom taupe color. Definitely not the same. Next is this peach color. This looks more peachy pink. Yeah, definitely not the same. And this is the last shade I wanted to compare. And again, this is more of a taupe, a darker taupe than this. And lastly, I want to compare it to the Chanel 382, the Vibrations quad. And I'm gonna just go ahead and do all of the shades. This is the quad, so this leans more gold. Probably looks a lot like this top shade. It is totally a different formula. I love the Chanel. I used to love the Tom Ford Wet, but I'm liking this formula of the cremes better than the Tom Ford Wet. And I have used, if you didn't see the Rose Topaz, I did do one eye dry and one eye wet, and they both lasted a great amount of time with no creasing. It was about 9 or 10 hours, no creasing. I will say the wet side definitely had more pigment, but they both lasted beautifully. But this is the Chanel Vibrations and this is the Tom Ford. I'm going to go ahead and skip this gold shade because the Tom Ford really doesn't have like a pure gold. But this brown, I want to swatch that. And this is definitely a lot like this one as well. Wow. Yep, looks like the same formula too on the skin. Like a satin. I don't think you'll be able to tell a difference. There's a slight difference, but I don't think on the eye you'll be able to tell. Lastly, the darkest shade from Chanel. This is definitely more of a burgundy red, or this is just like a rich dark brown. So I would say 2 out of the 4 look like the Chanel, and the other 2 do not. So that's it for comparisons. Let's create an eye look. Okay, so we're back, ready to create an eye look. I will have everything that's on my face linked down in the description box. I did just put on some of the Clé de Peau lipstick shine, and this one is in the shade 518, Sunny Rose in Bloom. I love this shade, but I have like the peachy cheeks and I wanted the peachy lip. And let's do our eye look. So for starters, I'm going to start with this shade here. And this is the BK Beauty 201. I'm just going to apply this out here and just circle around to add the majority of the pigment there, and then bring it into the crease. And we might create more than one eye look, but I know in my last video, I believe Ava made a comment that she wants to see how they perform with the finger. I'll do the shades I'm gonna put all over the lid with my finger, but in that previous video, I did use the top shade with my finger, but I used more of a tapping motion to have it more like a topper versus a swiping. But I can definitely do the swipe just so you see how it performs. I have heard that there seems to be an issue with some of the tiger eyes where people are hitting hard pan. I have not had that issue. I just want to mention, if you're ever going to use any shadows wet, make sure to apply the shadow on the brush and then spray the brush to prevent hard pan, because you don't want to wet the brush and then you're putting the water in there to just create that hard pan. You want to get the shadow on your brush, spritz the brush, and then go and then go for the application. And if you do happen to hit hard pan, not that any of us want to hit hard pan, you can get a spoolie, really go over the top lightly with it, and then with a piece of tape, you can pick up like that hard pan, but don't push back down, because essentially you're just pushing the hard pan back in. You want to get that out. So that's just a little tidbit. But I'm going to, next I'm going to go in with this shade here, and I'm going to go in with my finger, and I want to do, oh, that's pretty. Not sure if you can pick that up, but I want to do right in the beginning, in the inner part of the eye, in the inner third. And I'm just going to get a little more to really amp that up. And then right on the tip of my finger, so I can do my inner corner. And then I'm gonna go in with this peach shade here, and I'm gonna swipe that on the lid. I don't feel like it has as much pigment as I was expecting. However, it is very elegant and beautiful, but definitely not as much oomph as I was expecting to get from it. I will try the same shadow, like those two light shimmery shades, these two, all over the lid just like this, but wet. But instead of going with like this shade here for the crease and the outer V, I'm gonna go in with the dark shade, and I'm not gonna wet that shade. I feel that shade is very pigmented. So I'm just gonna do the same. I'm gonna tap out here and then start brushing inward. And then I'm gonna go in circles around the edges just to soften that up. Circles and then windshield wiper motions. And that's one application, dry. And I will say this formula, the shades just blend into each other beautifully. I think what I was expecting from Tiger Eye versus what I got as far as pigmentation is a lot less than what I expected. But it is beautiful. So I'm gonna go into this light shade here and just brush that lightly along the edges of the dark shade. And then with this shade here, I'm just gonna lightly dip my finger into that and highlight under the brow. So next, with my Unit 306, I want to try the peach shade and I want to wet it. So I'm going to spray it with my MAC Fix Plus. And I want to apply that all over the lid. And see, yes, you see, that is the umph I was looking to get using my finger. I did not get it using my finger, but I did get it by spritzing the brush. So next I'm gonna go into this light shade here, and I'm gonna spritz it as well with the MAC Fix Plus. And all I did was flip the brush over, and this is the Unit 308. And I'm just gonna go right here like we did on the other eye. Do my inner corner and bring it upward. And that definitely packs more of a punch wet than with a finger. And now I'm gonna go back into that brown shade because I didn't expect it to pack that punch. And I kind of swiped it over the brown shade. And there you go. You definitely get more color payoff with that peach shade with it wet versus the finger. And it's so weird. It looks like the camera is picking up like if it's patchy, but it's not. Is it me? Am I seeing stuff? Like I know I have a little scar there, but yeah, this light brown on its own without wetting, I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the brushes dry or the fingers. With this palette, I was with the rose quartz, but I feel like that peach shade is already fading. That's just me. I like them like this. So I'm gonna dip into this shade here with the brush, pinch the brush, and just run it under the under eye. Under the lower lash line. Okay, I went in on this side with this shade here on the lower lash line and the dark brown shade on the lower lash line here. I will say I would stay away from these three under the lash line if you have more mature eyes and you don't want to emphasize the lines, because I'm not sure if you can tell, but on this side you see lines that you didn't see before and you don't see on this side. It's like right here. Oh, it's just emphasizing the lines just a little bit under the eyes. If you don't care, I don't care. I really don't care. But if you don't want to emphasize lines, I would go for more of the dark brown, which is a matte. So I'm going to apply some liner, mascara, probably even this out for this eye look, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. That's better. So what I did is I kind of like just went on this side with the dark, over on this side with the dark brown, didn't wet it, and just went over the lid shades with them wet. And that's all I did to kind of just even them out because I am going out. And then on the top waterline, I did tight line with the Mario pencil, and this one is in the shade The Perfect Brown. And on the waterline, I did Olive Brocade from Chantecaille, just the little pop of color, you know, going into spring, little pop of color, a green liner, a peach lip out here. Let's get our garden on out here. Garden look. But the little peach cheeks and the peach lips, I'm just loving the whole vibe. And for mascara, I use the Tom Ford Badass Mascara. So here's the final look. Now, into the final thoughts. I totally thought that I was going to love this palette a lot more than Rose Topaz. That's not the case. I like the palette, but I do feel like the shimmer shades at the top, like these two here, really perform better wet, which is, I mean, you don't want to spritz your shadows every single time. Do I regret buying the palette? I don't. I'm a neutrals girl. I love neutrals. With me not having to go into the office and working from home, if I want to spritz a shadow, I have enough time to spritz a shadow. Like, it's really up to you. Like, do you feel you have the time? I feel like the darker the complexion, the more these two shades will show up, if that makes sense. I feel like they'll really pop, and the deeper skin tones will just, like, it'll contrast beautifully, the warmness of these shades with a darker tone, where me, myself, on medium skin, I felt I had to spritz it with my MAC Fix Plus to really get it to pop. But I do love the formula, and I did not experience any hard pan. Like, where you see those circles and it's a different color, that's like the circle from where I swatched. But I will keep you updated on Instagram, and if you're not following me there, that's at Merch Beauty, and let you know if I experience any hard pan. So those are my thoughts. Again, just like I was mentioned on Rose Topaz, do you need it? Absolutely not. Do you probably have neutrals like this in your makeup arsenal? Probably. If you get an opportunity, if it's in your budget, I suggest you try one just for the formula. I don't think the formula will disappoint at all. Many can attest to the blendability of how easy they blend. But are they just like, whoa, must have every single palette? No. And I mean, they do all complement each other very well. But if you're a neutrals lover, like myself, you probably already have these shades and other palettes, but I don't regret them. So tell me, did you pick it up? Did you pick any of them? Are you liking the formula? What are your thoughts? But until next time, don't forget, we're all perfectly imperfect. Bye.